By Team Archon. My name is Frodan. I've been joined all weekend long by Kripparrian to bring you
Hey
guys the
guys.
action, provide some commentary, and also witness some pretty fun, wacky games all around this new format that's a sneak peek into the upcoming standard. So it's going to be a pretty simple, straightforward day. We're going to have all the playoffs leading into in a single champion, and we have 8 players remaining here.
Yep, it's going to be a single elimination, so none of that lose one and maybe come back into it and recover and qualify anyway. Well, no, we're past that stage. This is single elimination. We're going to start with Savjz versus Amnesiac, then it's going to be Trump versus Super JJ, and then Strife Crew versus Oskaka, Life Coach versus Tice. Oh man, Life Coach versus his only teammate in the tournament, Tice. That's a bit of a crapshoot there. But, well, one of them will have to go on to the semifinals and then the final. We have 7 matches for you guys tonight, and it should be pretty good. Just to catch up on things, the standard format is the one that, well, should be implemented in Hearthstone pretty soon. It's going to be the removal of the older sets, which is going to be GVG and Naxxramas, and they're going to add a new set. This is when all this crazy stuff is happening. And, the idea of this tournament is to give a little bit of a peek into some of the aspects, some of the consequences of a change like this. The GVG sets and Naxxramas sets are not allowed in this tournament. As a result, we've seen a lot of really good Druid decks, along with a few other creations that have, succeeded kind of like one-ofs. Out of all the unique decks, I believe it's only Trump that is the special snowflake. He's got the Warlock, right? I think there was like a one of Hunter, and there was another one of deck. I don't remember whose it was.
Yeah, we had one Hunter that was Cleansa, we had one Paladin that was Firebat.
Oh yeah, they
Firebat
didn't
was
make it.
also another special snowflake that he didn't bring the Druid, and he barely didn't make it. He had a really close series against Oskaka in the losers bracket, Battle of World Champions, but Oskaka was able to edge him out narrowly in advance. Another sleeper deck or sleeper class rather that we've been haven't really paid attention to too much in the very beginning of the tournament, but very quickly picking up some attention is Rogue. It's presented here by Amnesiac, and several other people who have made it farther in the tournament also have done the same. Oskaka, Super JJ. We saw a lot of people try to bring it as well. So it's a really interesting dynamic because we've seen some people favor the control side of stuff, the dragons and the priests and the warriors, and also some of these combo miracle decks could be making a comeback here.
Yeah, the miracle decks have worked out reasonably well. Out of the other classes, though, there's a bit of variety as well. While Druid seems to have just the basic ladder list, as most of the ladder Druid decks that you see these days don't really have any GVG cards or Naxxramas cards of any real value. There's the Violet Teacher variation, but it's still basically the same deck. But there is a lot of variation in some of the other classes, and we see that Savjz is queuing up with Priest going into the first game here, and he's running a very combo-driven deck. He's got the Auchenais, he's got all the crazy healing effects that combo with the Auchenai, and he's got the Injured Blade Master to kind of receive some of those effects as well. We see the Earthen Ring Farseer on the Rogue side in Amnesiac's Rogue deck, and that has been maybe the superstar of the tournament, I'd say, where a ton of the very highly teched and very well put together decks are running those cards.
Oh yeah, sure. You can definitely see it. Oh, is this a turn one bluff? Yeah. That's an interesting small little move there. It's nothing that will have a large impact in the long run, but it's one of those things that try to make your opponent think. I have a 1-mana card. It might have been a minion. Was it another Twilight Whelp? Do I think, should I play it? That kind of stuff. It might not matter at the rank that most people play at. In fact, some people don't even pay attention to that.
Oh, that's a good draw. Look at that. Circle Heal. This gets really punished by Sap, which was just drawn by Amnesiac. But the idea behind Circle Healing being used on the Injured Blade Master is that you can't really normally play it. You have to save it with the Auchenai for when the Gadsden gets stealth, because this is generally a very bad matchup for the Priest. this is like one of the traditional horrible matchups, as Miracle Rogue versus any priest was always one of the worst, and you got to take all the little chances, all the little advantages that you can.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty to get the Vile Teacher out as well, because you can't really kill it off as the priest either, and it's going to run away with the game just in terms of board control. All these small little 1/1 tokens, it's not necessarily the threat immediately this turn, but it's that every turn that the Vile Teacher lives, it's just going to get more stats onto the board. Wow, what a draw! Another ability to use Circle of Healing, but this time refill the hand, which is not normally where you get to expect this early on. So, really big moves here.
It's completely gone here. I mean, there's what can he do to clear a Stealth Auctioneer? There's nothing. Savjz is responding directly to the threat, for him this turn, but. Man, I feel like with this play, it's so hard to win a drawn-out game. I feel like this is going all in right at the start.
Well, it's a bad matchup, and a lot of times one of the train of thought in order to win bad matchups is to take risks to get ahead. And even though it's not the safest line of play or the most long-term thinking, you just have to try and take your chances whenever you get them. I mean, you don't really get 2 Circle of Healings this early, and we've seen scenarios where players have kept it. Even Savjz, he's kept the Circle of Healings, and they just have no impact later because you never draw the Archon. So try to use it while you can. Looks like Savjz's gonna pop away really quick. We also did rearrange the schedule, everybody, because I know some people were expecting Trump's match to start things off, but I think that's going to be coming up second. Pretty excited to see if Amnesiac can advance, considering how new he is still to everybody in like Hearthstone, right? People still aren't very familiar with how Amnesiac plays. I mean, he's kind of one of these dark background players that really help Archon succeed in a lot of tournaments for a while. He's a really good deck builder, and a lot of people praise him for that.
I wonder if we'll see the double Northshire and then the greedy trade to draw an extra card here. Looks like that is going to be the play. Savjz has a lot of very powerful combos in his deck, but when the combo pieces don't work together, the cards just, I mean, they really just suck. I mean, I don't know how to better put it. Flash heal when you don't have like an Auchenai or a huge heal recipient, which is actually pretty rare. It's just not going to do anything.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, Flash heal in itself has no impact onto the board, because, I mean, okay, that's not true. If you have, like, an Injured Blade Master #2, there's still uses for it, but it's like you said, in a vacuum, say hypothetically you both were top decking and you had empty hands, drawing Flash heal off the top is not going to do anything. So that in that case, you're absolutely right. But in cases here where you can establish a firm board,
whoa, there it is.
The dream. Now you can also go super greed by healing it first, draw 2 cards, and then flash heal it, draw 2 more cards, and then all of a sudden you might be in a position where, I mean, you might have more cards to out-card the rogue, but I think you have to start worrying about, as the more mana comes in, are you just going to get blown away by that auctioneer?
I like the greed heal, to be honest. It's 2 cards for a little bit of tempo, and it really is a little bit of tempo. We're talking about a 2/4 taunt that just straight up dies the 4/4 Drake.
It's true. Not to mention Azure Drake with Spell Power and Rogue. There's so many easy ways for it to conveniently remove, like a backstab with just the hit on the dagger. So the tempo feels like it is negligible. Northshire Cleric's job is definitely done. Like, she did her part, drawing almost a full hand.
Well, we're not off the job yet. We still got one in play here. I'm not even sure it's going to fall. I think the Drake might hit face. I think at this point the priest has enough cards. You don't really care, do you? I guess you care then. Okay.
Well, it's a valid question for sure. It's one of those things where, because the attack as well, he missed 4 damage and now the Drake dies. Assuming he used the Blackwing Corruptor. That's completely valid to evaluate, like, whether or not you need that damage. But maybe the rogue feels like it has enough damage anyways, even without it. Oh man, backstab, pretty big.
I got the best deal.
So this is a pretty clear turn. You just gotta have to go for this.
I don't know if you actually backstab this turn. I think you don't. There is no risk of Akanai being a loss. You don't even have to play around Sylvanas' death, which you definitely don't have to play around in general. But the chance of that Auctioneer dying is 0, right?
Oh
no, the Holy Nova Power Word Shield. Power Word Shield top deck could actually clear the board.
Power Word Shield.
Yeah, Pyromancer, Power Word Shield, Holy Nova for 3. Oh, he still can do it.
Yeah. That works. He can't get punished. Famous last word. That's what you always think. But Amnesiac does end up using the backstab anyways. And as such, because he does end up using the backstab, he draws a card, which helps him get a little bit deeper. So he did play around this idea that he wouldn't have the Auctioneer next turn. Lotheb's not in this format either. It's an illegal card, so it's something that has helped rogues significantly.
Yep, Flash Shield a minion. This is the best sequencing for sure.
Flash Shield being pretty effective this game. Like it's given him some opportunity to load up the board presence with the Injured Blade Master. It's counted as like an activator for a spell when you need it the most, and this is not usually what you see. An opportunity to kill off a stealth Gatchazan Auctioneer. That used to be the stuff of Priest Nightmares.
Yeah. Now you have a clear with a Blade Flurry here, and I think you might just want to take that. Just the attack Blade Flurry because the spell damage does 1 extra.
Yeah, probably best to save your coin in case you pick another Auctioneer.
You can Shiv. Oh,
thank you.
Okay, he's gonna try to save the Blade Flurry. Interesting.
It also makes sense. Blade Flurry is one of your best cards against Priest.
Oh, he does have Sylvanas. I don't think we've seen that one yet.
It makes sense. I mean, Sylvanas is such a complicated... a lot of times, Sylvanas is kind of like AoE because everyone has to trade into it before... unless you're willing to give up something on the board. Even then, it's like 2 minions that are impacted by it, at least. So Sylvanas does feel like it's a good compensation if you're like missing Light Bomb and you have other stuff. But it's like... how many combo cards does he have in his deck to make sure that he has other stuff to do? So,
all right, well there goes the Tomb Pillager. While it's not a huge immediate threat, you can definitely taunt up before it. But Savjz is really trying to play the denial game. He has the card advantage right now, and he knows he can maintain it if he denies a lot of these spell draws.
Yeah, I like it. It's a pretty smart line of play to just deny any comeback mechanism that your opponent has. So he says, right around now, Rogue always just struggles to have cards to play. It just can't be mana efficient at all. All these spells are just cards that combo with other things. So he's going to take away one of its immediate threats, plus the added bonus of your opponent doesn't get the coin if he ever picks up an Auctioneer, so it's 1 less card. I like it. It's a smart move.
I think he has to do a Twilight Guardian and a heal on the Injured Blade Master. Playing both just sets you up for a disastrous big Blade Flurry.
Yeah, there's definitely potential still. Even though you lose the oil, there's still that threat of this rogue deck could have something.
Wow, crushed!
Priest steals one from the rogue, and that's kind of a pun, but not really. Like, the priest here really wasn't supposed to be that quick onto the board. That Injured Blade Master play, was really huge. But the second thing that really put it over the top was just the card draw from the priest. That drew way too many cards from the cleric. That ended up giving priest the fuel it needed. It should have been out of cards a long time ago, and he was forced to play like Twilight Guardian into, the Tomb Pillagers, and that'd just be really bad.
Yeah, card draw is absolutely immense. It is what led to what was the crazy draw. That flash heal with the Pyro play allowing to clear the Auctioneer just denied probably at least like 7 cards being drawn from the rogue side, and that would have been a completely different game. So you know, it was just the right card, just in time, and that was only possible from the greedy draws early on. You know, you can get away with greedy draws if your combos are, you know, ridiculously strong, and you know, Savjz proved that once again with his priest deck there.
Yeah, it's a good observation. Because he drew so deep, he landed exactly on that card. So he was, you know, I guess when you draw that many cards with clerics like 6+, 7+, you're bound to hit some of those combo pieces that work well together. So ended up being okay. Now to radically shift gears, Rogue is going to stay for Amnesiac, while Savjz has moved on to the Shaman class, one that's been generally really good. Still on the more inconsistent side compared to Druid, because it feels like Shaman is a victim of being targeted a lot by some of these dragon decks. Not necessarily the case for Savjz because he's facing a rogue, but Shaman has had some ups and definitely some downs so far this tournament.
It looks like this Tunnel Trog is going to actually make it.
For now.
The rogue has to hit it once with a dagger for it to die to an elaborate SI play next turn.
Which is what
exactly
Amnesiac has to
does.
sell for it.
Very good.
I do, because of the threat of Feral Spirits. Your opponent's on coin. And as the Shaman player, with the 1-drop in hand and this third Finley, I think you're obligated to make this play.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Alright, let's see what the draw is. He needs a good spell.
Oh my goodness.
That is a very good spell.
So big. Because if he had to prep for that, that would
He'd have
have been...
to prep a Cold Blood
This guy's
on this 3 health SI, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you could also make an argument that maybe he wouldn't have even used Cold Blood, just prep as, like,
Prep combo
as
activator.
lack of a better coin. Now, do you clear, or would you play the Finley? This is... I don't know.
Yeah, it is a bit of a decision. Looks like he just doesn't want to burn the Rock Fighter. It represents so much face damage with the Doomhammer already in hand. Oh, and it's Smorkin time.
Mighty Morphin Smorkin time?
Yeah.
With the
All
Farseer, that's a pretty significant pickup as well.
Mm-hmm.
I personally like this
FaceTime.
this rate play. I was thinking about taking it a little bit slower, but this is really cool.
All in.
Yeah. It's cool. It might not work in the exact way that Amnesiac wants, because Savjz has answers that doesn't require his own health to be traded. And now that Rogue's completely out of cards, he might be able to just take it slow, because he's got the Hunter hero power. And Rogue's just going to be hero powering every turn, pretty much.
Yeah, Amnesiac is going to have to draw very well here to continue the card draw. That's a poor start.
Yeah, Deadly Poison, just another card that's like combos with stuff.
I really like
Magic
Doomhammer
Drakes.
here. I really like Doomhammer because the rogue is unable to sacrifice the Blood Mage Thalnos, which denies him more card draw, more opportunity.
Yeah, that's right. At this point, you don't even care about the spell power. You actually want Thanos to cycle and die. But Rogue's on a race. 6 more damage being put out here with the Deadly Poison Dagger and SI.
Well, he's threatening 7 a turn, and Savjz is on 16. So it's probably a 2-turn clock. It actually is looking pretty okay for the rogue, but there's so many draws here that could just, you know,
Yeah, the Rock Biter.
yeah, give such insane damage to Savjz. Like that Lava Shock is perfect. I think you just go face with that, honestly.
So you can unlock 2 more crystals this turn by doing that, giving you a hero power, and then making sure that you have 7 next turn so that you can Lava Burst, hero power. I guess you have 2 more. So what would you do with that extra 2 more mana?
So you can do 8 this turn, and then next turn is lethal. Yeah, if you do No, you don't even have to do it this turn. You can just Lava Shock next turn. You have lethal next turn. The rogue has to draw a heal. Or lethal. Good luck with that.
Okay. Oh,
Preparation!
Worst
Oh, that's
draw
gonna be another
deck.
one for Savjz, I guess. He has exactly 13 damage by my count.
Yes, the Lava Shock, more than enough here to unlock the Mana Crystals. Really nice stuff here by Savjz to make sure to just plan and think very carefully. But, you know, this is just exactly the power of the that Hunter Hero power and what Sir Finley does to give flexibility to the class to give it reach otherwise. Because if it didn't have that and it just had Shaman totems,
About 8 short.
it would have been very short.
Yeah, but you know, very well played by Savjz. I think it was very important there to keep the Thalnos from drawing. When the rogue is out of cards completely, denying that one extra card draw is such a big deal. You know, it's I know it's been mentioned several times by lots of people in Hearthstone, but there's like the rogue class, the miracle rogue deck is like draw momentum type of deck, you know. So once you get like 1 or 2 key draws, they start drawing literally their entire deck. And you know, if you stop that from happening, you're just drawing dead so frequently. So I think it was very important for Savjz in that matchup to not play any minion, and you know, looks like he managed all the way to the end.
Yep, so now Savjz is up 2-0 very quick. And now it's going to come down to whether or not the rogue can kill the Druid. And Druid's definitely failed a couple of times. Zulay being one of the players that he was up 2-0 and was not able to close it out. Ended up getting reverse swept by Life Coach after that crazy Shaman versus Priest game.
Well, Savjz is running Sylvanas, which probably makes his Druid deck a little bit slower than most, and you know, that can be an advantage against particular lineups, but I think Amnesiac's lineups are generally fast. He's got this Miracle Rogue deck, he's got the aggressive Shaman, which we've seen a lot of, and I think he has a faster Druid. And you know, sometimes a faster Druid doesn't actually provide an advantage. Sometimes a slower Druid is better. But it's hard to say. It really depends on the openers.
Well, speaking of openers, Savjz is really weighing his options here. The one thing you don't want to do is get hit by a Fan of Knives on the Living Roots. You have to kind of wonder, though, is if you coin Fan of Knives, it's better than if he does it on turn 3 when he doesn't have to use the coin. So rather than try to be mana efficient with hero powers and evaluate next turn, I kind of like this to attack. Oh, sorry, to play the 1/1s.
Yeah, I like the attack too. You're probably going to play a Giant Van Cleef next turn, and if you attack ahead of time because you're going to Blade Flurry anyway, you minimize the amount of damage you take from a potential Savage Roar. All right, start the sacks, boys.
Oh man, there's already a lot of combo cards with that Van Cleef, but is that it? Is that what you want to go for when your Druid's hitting turn 4? Turn 4 is the turn for silence on it, and as much as you can build up the world's biggest Van Cleef, I don't feel comfortable making Druid do it. At least make it do it off curve, right?
What? No.
You want to go immediately for the Van Cleef?
No balls. They're spamming it in chat already, you know.
Uprooted Ancient of War. Can you tell me?
Yeah, like last week. It was a warrior with like no cards at like 9 life. Makes sense sometimes.
Wish I was as manly as you were, Krip.
So manly.
I mean, he can go for a midi cleave. You know,
No, man. 6/6. Junk, dude. Junk.
Where shall I strike?
Well, you know, it just reminds me of those days where it's like, we're talking about old school Miracle. You used to be able to play Van Cleef for like 6/6 or 8/8, then attack and trade into a minion, then Shadow Step it right back. Just like play Van Cleef as 8/8 every single turn. Those are the days, man.
Those are the days where Leroy cost 4 mana and you had to play around 22 burst.
Yeah. Well, it was Leroy. That entire combination cost 8 mana. The 22 burst required 3 or 4 cards, but
Well, it did 18, right? It was 6 times 3, but they always did like an eviscerate at the end.
right.
So it was the 22.
Or like a cold blood.
Yeah.
Well, the Farseers seem to be pretty strong here in tandem. You might want to consider daggering up too, even though it's not as mana efficient. But you do have Gadgetzan, and your first spell that you'd probably want to play is something like Deadly Poison. So, I think the 2 Farseers is just better board control though, so I don't fault them on that at all.
I'm surprised that he was thinking about going for the Savage Combatant. I really like the Ancient of Lore. Ancient Lore on 7, like you can never go wrong with that.
Not when the board is like that, where it's not super intimidating, but it's enough where Rogue can just start punishing by killing the Ancient of Lore and then pushing for damage. So I think he feels like it's better to play a little bit safer.
I got the best
All right, well,
anywhere.
looks like Amnesiac has hit that point in the game where he's stabilized well enough, and it's time to draw the rest of the deck. It's downhill from here on the Druid side, but 20 HP is nowhere near out of range when it comes to Druid combos.
Yeah, it's definitely not impossible, but not likely given the hand of Savjz, and this is where being aggressive as a Miracle Rogue is going to be pretty easy to activate when your opponent can't kill the Gadgetzan Auctioneer very easily. He's both swipes. What is he going to do? Charge Druid the Claw to the face? To the Gadgetzan Auctioneer while he's taking 7 to the face? It's not going to be conducive to his win condition.
Yeah, I think he'll have to play the Azure Drake and see if he can get, I don't know, maybe a Wrath. And then if he doesn't, he'll have to innervate the Druid of the Claw in charge mode.
Yeah, I guess that's your best option. Give yourself a draw first to see if it changes, but if not, Druid of the Claw is a 4 damage removal. Not very clean at all.
Oh, perfect.
It is. Well, perfect in quotation marks. Until he sees a second Auctioneer being able to do stuff. Or even just potential lethal.
It's very difficult to do much here. I think lethal is pretty unlikely.
Well, he just needs Eviscerate.
That looks like lethal, doesn't it?
Yeah. It wasn't
damage.
likely off the top, but
yeah, he had to draw it off the top because he couldn't play the Auctioneer with all that shenanigans, just because he had to play Deadly Poisons, and he only had 2 mana to work with otherwise.
all right, great job by Amnesiac to climb back in the series. It's 1 game win, so it's not out of the question if you can come back in the series, but Lord knows it's going to be tough, just because how do you actually come back 3 times against Druid? It's a class that's known for its consistency. Savjz had one of the worst draws he could, in the sense that he didn't have early game plays outside of Living Roots, no ramp. The innervate came way too late, and he was stuck playing removal instead of actual minion. So
he was still doing okay. I think the main turning point in that game was, like, Savjz's plan was to just go face, 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 face. He had the rogue down to 14. He had a swipe and he had a charger. I mean, he was almost there, honestly. The main turning point, I think, was the double Farseer. That's basically like playing a heal body. The rogue healed himself from 14 all the way to 20, and then suddenly he had a very threatening board. I mean, 2/3/3s, when you have that much removal and that much attack buffs and damage potential, and that was even realized. So, yeah, Farseer again, I think, was the card of the match there for Amnesiac.
yeah, definitely been a really powerful tool for many decks. However, Shaman and Druid, not really 2 classes that have Farseer very often. They're more of the aggressive types. I mean, realistically, we might see a Druid mirror of what it comes down to, whether or not Amnesiac can come back into the series and complete the reverse sweep. Savjz, though, he's pretty comfortable, and if it comes down to Druid mirrors, he does have that Sylvanas Windrunner, a legendary minion that is really complicated for Druid to deal with without the Keeper of the Grove, and most decks seem to have cycled that out. I mean, Amnesiac's running like Stranglethrow Tigers in his deck, right?
Yeah. Here's the other thing that's very important, though. He never played Sylvanas, did he? In any deck. It was never actually played, and we didn't see it yesterday. I don't think we saw Sylvanas in any of the games in the past from Savjz.
Did he play it in that Priest game, Priest vs. Rogue? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
May have just played the other things, the Dragons.
I think that will actually have a pretty big implication if it goes to Druid versus Druid. I think most likely we'll see the Keeper being wasted, really, before the Sylvanas is seen. But perhaps here, the decision to go with the Shaman first, I think is a very good one. You get a little bit more information on the deck, and as the Shaman player, your strategy is fairly indifferent of what your opponent is doing or playing.
Get in there and fight.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, I definitely can see what you're saying. There's sometimes where you do have to shift your plan radically, like passing 5 turns in a row, in order to bait him into elemental destruction. So sometimes your game plans are a little bit dynamic. But those are far and few between. It's mainly, like you said, establish early game board, use burn to finish the game.
Elemental destruction.
Speaking of the devil.
Looks like he's going for full-out board control plays. He's going to take 2 to the face. So far what we've seen is taking 2 damage as the Druid for a kill is worth it. It's at 3 where the pro players seem to draw the line. It's not okay to take 3 damage by attacking to something, but 2 is good all day.
Yeah, I think it's just the mentality of, like, 3 is the threshold where you're trading 2 mana to take 2 damage, and it doesn't feel like, unless it's absolutely necessary, where if you don't kill it off with your hero power, you're just going to take it 2 more times to the face, then you have to do it. But in other cases, you feel like if you can use a minion and conserve health, you should.
I do want to mention Savage Roar is almost lethal right now.
Yes, let's see, 7 plus 6 is
plus 12,
19, 20 damage if you can squeeze in a hero power. So, and on the other end, I mean, Shaman's got some pretty intimidating board too. No swipe to easily start picking things off, so he's got to figure out a way to efficiently remove it without giving up too much.
No, that's a pretty good 1-drop.
Yeah, it gives you an extra card. It's not like a 1/1 or like a 1/1 with no ability, or even a 1/2. Sometimes it's just kind of like a vanilla 1/2. It just feels pretty weak.
Well, if I'm the Shaman player here, I'm like, okay, this guy doesn't have Savage Roar. It's time to continue going face. I mean, you would just never ever make this play if you had Savage Roar, right?
Well, he would use it to start things off, right?
Yeah.
He'd use it on the board of 5 minions. Possibly only trade 1 minion and go all face with the rest. This is 10 damage in the hand plus the 2 on board, so 12.
It's almost there.
Almost, but still pretty far. Like, because Druid is still going to try to hero power, and you never know if there's taunt minions that end up making it so that, like, because you probably won't want a Rockbiter now. So you don't know if the Rockbiter can get the guaranteed damage in.
Have we seen Ancient of Wars from Savjz? Like, we've seen a few of these other more unusual cards. I'm wondering if he's just not running Farseers, which would also kind of be a bit of a disadvantage in this matchup. Or he's not running those taunts. It's one of those things that are a little bit absent.
Oh yeah, definitely. Farseer is really good in this matchup specifically compared to other ones, because you don't care too much about the late game. You don't care too much about the late game if you can't have any life to survive from that point on. You can play Ancient of War and then they just lava burst past you.
Alright, well, if we see the Azure Drake come down, the Shaman's going to be 2 damage off lethal. It looks like Savjz is going to bank up on a draw. Oh, nope. That bet failed.
I mean, it's not a Farseer. Farseer would have been great, but I don't think you really take out Emperor from the Druid deck these days. It was one of those cards that people thought maybe they could, but about a couple months ago, people were like, no, like, the way you often win as Druid is to get a huge discount on a lot of your Force of Nature Saboteur cards.
Mm-hmm.
Would you Lava Burst now? You don't have a Spell Power Totem, so maybe you're waiting for that. You can pass, I guess.
Yeah. I like the pass.
Even though you don't have guarantee of getting the Spell Power Totem next turn, you still most likely, whatever card you can play, you can. I mean, whatever you pick up, you can probably play it with the mana. Feral Spirit's one of the most expensive cards, but he can still fit everything.
Yeah, it looks like it's just gonna have to be Feral Spirits and Hero Power again. But the Shaman is gaining right now. Just that Ancient of Lore is gonna come down these turns and negate the Lava Burst.
Yeah, as early as
Lava
next.
Burst for 6. That's 2 off lethal here.
With Ancient of Lore inevitably coming down to heal Savjz, it's pretty hard to conserve your resources at this point. You really want to go hard because, again, now you're starting to wonder if you have enough mana for the following turn to be able to use these cards if you needed to. So, tough decisions. Ends up using a Rockbiter instead.
Force of Nature is such a weak clear. He's really looking for some kind of taunt.
Yeah, not to mention that he's going to die if he uses Force of Nature.
Does he?
Yeah, the Spell Power Totem doesn't die, right?
Oh, that's right.
So,
Yeah.
unless he
he's got a
kills
Hero
Spell Power Totem and leaves the Leopard Gnome up.
I don't think that's even an option.
Yeah.
Time waits for no one.
What are we gonna see here?
Not in Raptor. Oh, he's just gonna go off the fact that he's gonna survive. He has hope that Shaman doesn't have any burst, but that ends up being exactly what he has. He just happens to have Lava Burst. If he healed, he would have survived.
Yep.
Oh,
But maybe not. Let's see what the draw would be. Yeah, he would have survived. All right, well, this might be another one of those reverse sweeps. Amnesiac has tied it up after being down 0-2. And it is going to be a Druid Mirror. And funny enough, it is going to be a Druid Mirror where Amnesiac is still unaware of Sylvanas. So hopefully this will actually be realized as an advantage for Savjz, but yeah, we'll have to see. I'm kind of curious what Savjz is running now. We've seen so many Druid decks in tournament. I think all 8 players who have qualified for today, the final day, are actually playing Druid. So easily the most dominant class in this format right now. It's kind of hard for me to remember, who's playing what kind of tech choices are being made. I really love the Farseer and Druid deck. I think it's what makes what I would say the G2, what Life Coach Tice and RDU brought as Druid. I've liked that Druid the most, just because of the potential to heal high health minions and generate so much tempo.
Yeah, putting a 5/5 back to a 5/5 is just so much more impactful than like a 5/2, which can get sniped by Keeper of the Grove or Living Roots. I'm in your camp. I think the G2 list is probably the best for the current meta, but one thing not to be underestimated is just the power of a Stranglethorn Tiger. That card can be pretty nuts if you just sit on it and pick up a really good trade, or even in the late stages of the game. It can also represent great setup for lethal. Savjz is going to be pretty unhappy seeing his opponent getting Wild Growth and the Innervate, leaving him pretty far behind. He has to Innervate the Drake. Oh, okay.
No, I like that a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, that basically prevents the Tiger from attacking. The Tiger is just going to get a bad attack no matter what here. Well, no, not no matter what. He could Wrath and come up with a terrible 1-drop. That's always possible.
Just a 1 health minion is fine. You can hero power it down and start hitting with the Tiger to the face. That's pretty important. So let's see what comes out.
It's going to be the Pit Snake Dream unrealized here. No.
The only thing better than a Pit Snake, a Timber Wolf. Not really. Pretty much the only thing that you could have saved him from that sequence is a taunt minion like Goldshire Footman or the Voidwalker. Emperor Thor is a great way to climb back onto the board because you're able to follow up next turn with Azure Drake Wrath or whatever you want to combine it with, and most likely your opponent can't remove it for 5 mana, so it's a trade with the Tiger.
And we have a Druid of the Claw draw, which is also a very good draw here. He could go charge and just start pummeling face if he wants. Good thing he didn't.
Yeah, because then the Azure Drake would have just destroyed him, but...
Yeah. I think you still Wrath for 2 here.
And cycle.
Well, the Wrathing for 4 really won't accomplish anything. And you still need better cards than what you have right now.
Yeah, I like it for the mana efficiency, because next turn you might want to squeeze in other plays, and that 1 mana floating might end up being the reason you can't kill it off easily. Plus, this is... It's like one of those things where your opponent won't hit your face because he realizes he probably has to trade and keep that Drake off the board.
I think he's thinking if he Rats now, the Druid of the Claw will attack face, but if he Rats later, then the Druid of the Claw will hit the Drake.
Okay, so this is basically saying you need to trade it to my Drake. Otherwise I'll punish it heavily.
Oh, that Farseer draw would have punished it heavily, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, no,
Oh,
it's
man.
about the same. It's about the same.
Great. That's like a really smart thing that ends up being like a reason why you're not just blown out on the board right now. Because if he healed that thing to a 4/6, you would have been forced to play the Keep of the Grove, which is just a much weaker card than whatever else you would have played.
You're 1 mana off from killing the Drake with a Living Root's Hero Power.
Yeah, but oh man, there's no way to remove that Drake without using Force of Nature. Oh no, you can use Keeper and Living Roots.
Yeah, but I don't think you would want to do that. I don't think that's threatening enough. Like, if you do that, you're just going to fall behind to the next thing that's being played. I think you have to make... There's the point in the game where you just have to play your own minion, hope it doesn't get removed, and catch up that way.
I wonder.
Okay, your opponent's coming up on 7 mana, so maybe he plays a minion and gives you a small opening to use removal and get a head back on board.
Overall, though, this game is definitely going Amnesiac's way. The fact that he has that mana crystal advantage is such a big deal. He's going to be able to lure, he's going to have so many more options, and he's going to be able to play them 1 turn before Savjz.
Does end up going for a board clear, and that ends up giving a pretty strong initiative to Amnesiac, who can play a much bigger minion in the Ancient of Lore. And the moment he starts picking up Savage Roar, he's just going to be back in business.
Oh man, Ragnaros and Savage Roar. That is pretty insane.
Yeah, and I think Savjz might also swipe this down. Because if his opponent ever does get an opportunity to control the board and then drop Ragnaros or even just threaten Force of Nature Savage Roar, he's in trouble.
Yeah. I could see either play. I could see the MC Tech and the swipe, but the way that he's been playing, I think you're right. The swipe is probably a little bit more likely.
It's just so much about the board because let's just say in like a worst case scenario, your opponent has a swipe and like a wrath, then how do you actually deal with it then? You're just gonna be really far behind on board and you spend your entire turn removing to get nothing out.
Here comes Ragnaros.
If Rag hits face, I think that gives Savjz a chance to do something. I think. Okay. Hits a 2/4, the average result. That's a pretty good meeting against Ragnaros. And you can drop Mind Control tag just to load up the board presence, and now you're on a Savage Roar draw to win the game, assuming your minion can survive. But you put your opponent on 19, which happens to be the health that if any of these 3 attack minions survive, you'll have exact lethal.
I think we'll probably see a board clear with combo from Amnesiac, and this Ragnaros is just going to pummel away at the face. Ragnaros is so good when your opponent is playing one thing at a time.
Let's see. Do you need to? You can also use Keeper, Living Roots, and Swipe, I think. You can save the Force of Nature Savage Roar. If you use the Keeper onto the 3/2, and then you...
It's 1 mana from clearing, though.
Keeper...
Oh, you mean Keeper for damage? Oh,
Yeah,
I hope to get a 1 health minion. Interesting. I like that. I like that a lot.
It plays around the Pit Snake disaster as well. You keep her first and make sure you can swipe that thing down.
Yeah, but Ragnar much less likely if you combo defensively. But if you combo defensively, you also take a little bit of damage. So I think I like your play better. I think playing safe in this position is the best way to do it.
Amnesiac's running out of time! What happened?
Oh no.
No! His teacher found his iPad under the desk!
Wow.
I don't know how this keeps happening, but Savjz keeps running into players who just keep disconnecting on game 5. Or is it? I'm not sure. Or is this the next level Archon play that I'm not prepared for again? Maybe Amnesiac and Zalay have been co-conspiring on how to do next level strategies. Because that seemed to me like a really good clear opportunity. And now, Amnesiac's dead.
Yeah.
Like, even if he came back right now, there's just no way he can climb back that quickly. Oh no, he had Farseer, so he would be outside of Force of Nature range.
Wow. And I thought Savjz had absolutely no chance.
You know, you always like are at that point where maybe you're one game away from Legend, you're at like rank 1 5 stars, or say you're at like 11 wins on your arena run, and you always think, man, I can't win. This is a 0% chance to draw lethal or anything like that. But there is that one opportunity where maybe my opponent's internet disconnects, or you know, his modem crashes, or you know, Comcast is Comcast. So.
Yeah, I really feel like if Amnesiac went with your play, did that damage keeper swipe play to clear the board, Ragnaros hits. There's no chance. There's no chance he loses, right?
No removal.
But, yeah, I mean, we were disconnected like on that turn, so you don't know if he was gonna make that play. You don't know how it would have turned out, and
right. He might have ended up going for combo clear and then give up his way to win, and then you don't know. Actually, we do technically know the next draw Savjz had with the second Force and the Ancient of Lore. Either way, it's not the way you want to go, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. It looks like we're getting word from the admins that the Savjz is just going to advance because we don't have a response from Amnesiac. I hope he's okay. And I hope everything's all right on his camp, because you never know with these kinds of things of what happens. So I hope everything's all right, because we didn't have his cam, so we didn't get to see anything what was going on.
Yeah, and some of the earlier games we saw the frozen image as an indicator to what's actually going on. But yeah, you never know. We're told to give it another second to sort it out, but we do believe that Savjz is going to claim that as a victory. Man, that is really never lucky for Amnesiac.
Yeah, that's pretty unfortunate for him. There's no way to beat around the bush on that one. But let's go ahead and just focus on what's coming up here while we have a brief second to show you guys the brackets. Coming up next, we have another match. It is Trump versus, is it Super JJ?
That's right.
That's going to be pretty awesome to see. How it's, these lineups stack. Super JJ is a pretty interesting lineup. He's got that mid-range Shaman. And Trump's got that Zoo Warlock without the eggs, without the implosion. It really is 24.
You don't need that stuff.
I feel young again.
Yeah, we're totally way old now.
Well,
to follow that, it is going to be Strife Crow versus Iskaka. Iskaka just qualified through the decider match yesterday. Made it through. It's going to be playing Strife Crow. Strife Crow, I think, has fairly standard list going to the tournament. And to follow that will be teammates, Life Coach, and Tice. Their whole team brought the exact same lineup throughout. And, well, I don't expect any of them are going to play too differently. So, well, we'll see who gets the best side of that coin flip, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately, for them, the friends become enemies. But I guess you at least guarantee a G2 player in the top 4. That might be the way to stop them. Have G2 play each other in the tournament. Could be one of the ways.
Devious.
All right, so yeah, it looks like we've got confirmation that that's going to be the ruling. Savjz will take the win, awaits the winner of Trump versus Super JJ. We're going to take a break. Before we do, we also want to shout out our sponsors. Big thank you to geekfuel.com/Team Archon. Check out that link for all that swag that you guys can get. Also, the Curse Network and Hearthpwn. They're doing a tool of the Innkeeper. It's allowing you to help manage your card collection in Hearthstone. Check it out, innkeeper.com. We're going to be back in just a few minutes, and when we come back, we're going to have Trump versus Super JJ. Stay tuned.